So riding a bike changed my life. And biking, it used to mean a lot more to me back in the day, but I feel like I have my life more together now and I don't do it as often. It's not as necessary, right? Although I still do love it for fitness, right? So what do I mean it changed my life? How does that even work? How does a bike change your life, bro? What does that even mean? And for me, I usually start biking in times where I don't really know what's next in my life. It's kind of become a therapy for me, along with music that I listen to when I ride it. I'll hop on my bike and I'll put on some serene music or just pretty much things that are just sounds, which is, I mean, all music is sound, but it's basically just like instrumentals or hell, I even do classical music. Something I've always loved since I was a child was pretty much just sound, not necessarily like lyrics and all that. For example, when I was a kid, I used to have just Godzilla soundtracks downloaded to my iPod Touch. And, my family would kind of make fun of me for it, but it was just one of those things. Like, I just specifically love sound. But that combo of music and biking, it gave me like a free space in my mind to reflect on what it was that I wanted or what I do want. And I really started to get into that in between middle school and high school. And during the summer, I learned something about myself. And by the way, side note, if you ever see somebody just start biking out of nowhere in their life and they're like not a biker or they're not somebody that typically goes out for a ride just randomly, bro, check in on them because they clearly have something going on because it's just not normal, bro. Like the risk of riding a bike on a road is pretty high. I mean, I see accidents all the time, or like I see those little crosses on the road, on the side of a road, and or you see the ghost bikes around that are fully painted white because somebody died riding a bike, they got hit. But yeah, like just check on somebody if they're just randomly starting to pick up biking. But anyways, as I was saying, I learned in that summer that my personality was that of somebody who would never be somebody that had, like 20 closest friends or even like a friend group, a small friend group. And in those 2 months, I understood early on that, I was alone. And honestly, that is what I loved about my life at that time. My thoughts were secure to myself. I didn't have to worry about someone gossiping or something I said or who I had a crush on or anything like that, the typical teenage stuff. And I liked it like that. Now, one thing I failed to realize from those therapeutic bike rides was that eventually I would have to involve other people in my life because being stuck in my own brain for my freshman, sophomore, and junior years of high school was eventually going to set me up for catastrophe later on, but I'll circle back to that. Now, I was definitely a late bloomer when it came to like puberty, so in between junior year and senior year during the summer, I could feel it really start to turn up a notch, like my body was starting to become more mature and my confidence was growing. But that came with some inner conflict because, that's not who I was my whole life. I was always the introverted person who may have known everyone, but I was never known by anyone truly. And there was potential for me to grow out of that shell that I casted upon myself since middle school. And the only way I had ever known to combat conflict within myself was to hop on my bike and figure myself out. I'd go all around my city as much as I could, taking the back roads, learning literally I could map out the entire city just using my brain. I just remember it so well, going to each and every individual park, just having my backpack with full of waters. And I'm here in Texas, so in the summer it's hot as hell. It's 100 degrees and the humidity is 70%, bro. So there's just like a constant aura field of heat around you, bro. It's so bad. But the environment never really like affected me because my brain was not there. It was always within itself, wondering what it was now that I wanted to be. And, I questioned myself a lot during these times when I would ride my bike. Like, did I ever actually want to be that guy that never had any friends? Or was it just what I accepted because I was too full of pride and never wanted to bring shame upon myself in the face of others? And being a little bit older than, that time when I was biking between middle school and high school, it became a little easier to understand myself. And I of course realized that my pride was hurting me. I mean, I barely even wanted to speak to the people that did love me unconditionally. And once I came to that realization, I lowered the veil that I had set up to quote unquote protect myself and instead wanted to enjoy those around me and exist within the little society that resided in my high school. So, I went from my middle school idea of myself, which was to just completely like go away from people and just stay away. And now I'm in this new era where I'm like, okay, I need to indulge in society a little bit and talk to people and let people into my thoughts, right? And so obviously senior year starts, and this is like literally the best start to a year I have ever had. You know, my grades are up. The best, like literally the best they had ever been in my entire time in high school. Because me, I was somebody that would get C's on my best day. Like literally just because I did not want to turn anything in. I was just not the type of person to complete any kind of work, bro. Because it all kind of felt useless to me. And I'm sure like we've all experienced that same feeling. But anyways, so my grades are up, my confidence is up. I'm talking to people, you know, like I feel like a leader almost. Like I'm starting to become the person that I guess, you know, the potential that I had from the very beginning of my life. But it's all starting to come and formulate into what I really wanted to be ultimately. Like subconsciously, this is kind of the person I wanted to be, but I pushed it to the side because of my own pride. And I was scared of putting myself out there. Mind you, I got all this from just riding my bike. But anyways, so, you know, we go through the whole first semester, and then second semester starts, it's continuing, same thing. And eventually we get to spring break. And, you know, before this, you know, I'm preparing like everything. Like this is about to be best time of my life. Like, you know what I mean? It's end of high school. Well, I guess best time of my life, you know, that's exaggerated now, but obviously. But you know, when you're a kid, you think high school is everything at the time. So like I said, we go on spring break and we're gone for the week, and Sunday rolls around. And my mother is actually the one I think that got the text, but you know, basically the school district said we're gonna go on a suspension for another week. We're gonna just let the next week pass by because there's this virus going around or whatever. So obviously COVID came around, right? And all of school and everything got canceled, right? I mean, we all know the story, bro. It's 2020 or whatever, and it just so happened to be my final year in high school. So I went from finally coming out of my shell through reflection and the therapy I was doing daily to myself, basically just sitting within my thoughts. And I know that's something like most people don't do anymore, and obviously there's so many reasons why. I think everybody talks about this, but I'm so glad I did that early on, because now everything got taken away from me, essentially. Like my social life got taken away from me. And I hate to like dramatize it because it kind of is cringe, bro, but it literally is like what just happened. And mind you, like I'm a kid, so of course everything in my life is what's going on right now in this moment. So to me, everything got taken away. Like that's just how it was. And honestly, to be honest, like I was devastated. I ain't gonna lie. You know, school went online. It was dog water because nobody likes online school. Like nobody wants to willingly partake of online school, bro. Especially when you're somebody that's socializing now. And so me, I just went back to the ways I was before. Like I literally just flipped my switch right back to, you know, I guess I'm just gonna be alone forever. It is what it is. I'm just never gonna be that kind of person. But like in the back of my head, you know, I'm thinking like, dude, like that's not who I wanted to be. Like that's literally what I worked for my whole summer, to change myself into becoming what it was that I could truly be. Somebody that wanted to talk to other people and open up. But now it's all gone. So what was my solution to all that? Of course, the title of the video, you know. I went back to biking so I could learn about myself again and reform myself again, remold myself again a third time. But this was definitely going to be the last time that I ever went to biking for therapy reasons, or, you know, in a time of need or desperate moments. And thankfully, you know, since it was COVID, I could still bike though. You know, I could still bike. It wasn't a hindrance to bike. So I went and did this again. I did the motions again, you know. And it wasn't summer yet, but like I said, in Texas, the weather gets hot early and they don't go away. It stays. So I went right back to it. You know, I'm getting sunburnt. I'm sitting there thinking about what it is that I want to be now. Like you know, it almost felt like fate or destiny that this happens for myself, because, you know, the first time I figured it out, I thought I figured it out. It wasn't correct. And the second time I thought I figured it out through biking, it wasn't correct again. And it was, like I said, it was like fate that I needed this third time to fully break my mold and become not what I wanted to be, but what, you know, God saw fit that I needed to be. And that's what this third set of therapy of biking, you know, kind of created me into. Unknowingly to me, of course. I didn't truly realize that it was for God, but I do now. But ultimately, the biking got me through that time where I was like just so lost and confused, and honestly angry at whatever was happening in the world. It was just, I wasn't really ready for that volatile of a change, right? And it's very obvious, like, the solution, but like I said, I'm a kid, or I was a kid at the time. And obviously there's a balance to this stuff. Like, my senior year, I was talking too much. I invested too much of myself into other people and their opinion. Like, it just became everything to me after the beginning of my high school self, or whatever you want to call it, being to just like completely be out of the way, stay out of the way. So it was just too much one way on each side. And I realized that being by myself actually did prepare me for a time when I was going to be by myself, forced to be by myself, essentially, not chosen. And that, once this was going to be over, which it did obviously went away, I would be prepared to find the person that I needed to find, and be just open enough that God was going to give his ultimate gift to me, which is my wife now. And, I ultimately found her later on in 2020, towards the end of 2020. And it was because I was open enough through the therapy that I had, but I was also reserved enough to not be completely out there. It's a balance. I mean, life is all about balance, and radical changes happen, and you're going to just go through that. And it's like everything, like it's like a stock market, like you have a stock, it blows up, and instead of selling when you're at a good peak, you end up holding, and it all comes back down crashing. Like, that's literally how my life went for a while there. But I literally would not have learned myself if I had done anything other than biking, bro, because biking like truly saved my own brain from collapsing within itself, as well as music, obviously, or sound, whatever you want to call it. But I'll never forget those days of just grinding it out, the dog days of summer. I got swamp booty, going down my chair, bro, on the bike. It's just insanely hot, but the whole time I can still think clearly. Like, it's so weird, bro. It was like literally out of this world, the feeling that I got. But what's weird is, like, as a kid, I had like this weird past with a bike. Like, I literally had a bad accident where I got don't even ask me how exactly, because I do not remember, but I got my ankle stuck in the wheel of a bike, like, somehow. I know it makes no sense. So my ankle got cooked, and yet still somehow I was never scared of the bike. Like, it was just something that I always loved. I was never like a try hard sweat like motorbike, or like not motorbike, but like over there at the skate park on a bike. I just like to ride the bike through the forest, through the trees, through the streets, through the back roads, everything like that. And just seeing like nature around me and feeling it really connected with it. It really made me connect to myself and allow me to breathe. And obviously, not everybody's therapy is gonna be a biking. Not everybody's life is gonna be changed from biking. But if there is a time where you feel lost, just remember what you've had in your life that's got you to that clear headspace. Because with all the distractions that we have nowadays, it's almost impossible to figure that out again. Like, you forget what you really had back then. And I know that if I was to ever go through something like that, the way I could combat myself from utter destruction is just biking and music. It's literally that simple for me. I know that I have an outlet to go to, but hopefully I don't need that again. Of course, I have way more other stuff that I'm allowed to plug into and use to clear my mind. But getting back to the point, just find whatever it is in your life that is good for you. Like, when things are bad, and when things are good for you. Like, it's discernment. And I've talked about this in another video before. It's like, we like have an intrinsic ability as humans to know what is good and bad. And maybe it's just from Eve eating the apple. I don't know, the knowledge of good and evil, but we intrinsically have that. But we just choose to look at things with different perspectives, and that's what life is really about, perspective. If we put perspective on things that are good, and we put our perspective in a way that we make that thing good, like, maybe I'm getting lost in myself. We know what is good and wrong, like what is good and evil, or what is good and bad, what is healthy for you, what's unhealthy for you. And like, if you think drugs are the way to get you back to like a clear headspace, then you're cooked, bro. Do not think that drugs is gonna help you get out. Like those things are just obvious. Like we just need to go back to what was good in your childhood. And maybe you don't have something that was, maybe you don't have an outlet. I mean, I don't know your entire life or what it is, but I know that you've probably had something happen in your life where you were clear minded. There just has to be. There's no way you've lived your entire life with nothing clear. That you've never had a day where your head was clear and you could properly, think for yourself, like who you really were or what you really wanted or the goals you set. Like there's just no way. It's not conceivable, bro. And if you do think that, then you're just cat, bro, because there's no way. You have to really dive deep into your mind and figure that out. And I did that early on, so it was nice and easy for me. And maybe some people will find that biking really does help their life and helps them get through times where they can't think clearly. So yeah, I am a COVID freaking kid, but my graduation was on Roblox and everything, so it is what it is. But yeah, I got through it, and I got through it using the one unpatched method that God gave me. So yeah, just take advantage of what it is in your life that you have, and maybe you listen to this video and it's something you can use. So yeah, appreciate y'all for watching. God bless and deuces.